Real quick warning, these are fights that I believe should be made after UFC 280, not ones that will be made after UFC 280. But if you disagree, go ahead, go in the comments and tell me how big of an idiot I am. It only helps me with the algorithm. Beneil Dariush arguably had a better if not equal claim to this title shot against Charles. He was scheduled to fight Charles and Islam within the past year and a half, and for whatever reason the fights just didn't materialize. Right now, Beneil is on a 9-fight win streak, which is what Islam was on, and the names that he has on there are probably better value than what Makhachev had on his run-up. Beneil has beaten Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Tony Ferguson, Drakkar Klose has looked pretty good recently, and Carlos Diego Ferreira is always a good name to have on your resume. Dariush was on the same card, took relatively no damage, was promised a title shot, and is on the same time schedule as Islam in terms of when he'll be ready for a fight. I know he said he's willing to fight whoever, but I don't think he should fight for anything but the title in his next fight. Tough loss for Charles Oliveira, and it's kind of sad that he had a shorter title reign than Conor McGregor, despite McGregor not having defended his title at all, and Charles basically defending twice, attempting 3 defenses. There aren't any fighters in the top 5 that have earned a rematch with him or that aren't booked. RDA is booked at welterweight, Gamrot just lost, Fiziev and Gaethje are going to fight each other, and Chandler and Poirier need to beat one more person after their fight before being in a title eliminator. Arman and Demir are fighting each other, and the rest of the top 15 are too lowly ranked. I think that Bronx's next opponent is contingent on who Islam defends against. In my scenario, Dariush fights Islam, and Charles welcomes Alexander Volkanovski into the division. There's no clear contender at 145, with Emmett and Yair probably being next up. They aren't booked to fight right now, so I think Volkanovski has some time to have 2 fights at lightweight if he wins this title eliminator. I think we can all agree that Sean O'Malley edging out Petr Yan threw a massive theoretical spanner in the works, but I don't think that many educated fans, the UFC brass, and even Sean O'Malley want to give him the next title shot. So the next logical contender would be either Merab Dvalishvili or Marlon Vera, but Merab took his name out of the hat, so I would book Aljo versus Vera. Marlon is 10-2 in his last 12, losing to Aldo, who's retired now, and Song Yadong in a fight who many thought he should have won. He has 4 wins over 4 people currently ranked, and everybody above him has either recently lost a title fight or are only on 1-fight win streaks. TJ Dillashaw's next opponent is retirement. I think that it's time. TJ Dillashaw might still be elite in terms of his skill set, toughness, and fight IQ, but the man is coming off of 3 or 4 surgeries in the past year with a total of 3 years in between fights. He's most likely going to go under the knife again after his loss to Aljo. He's 36.5 at bantamweight, which is a tough division to be old in, and his fight style relies largely on his speed and reaction time, which will probably be diminished if he comes back and fights again at 37 or 38 years of age. Man, Sean was able to unpredictably squeak out a win against the #1 contender in the division and rightful champion in the eyes of salty Twitter fans, Petr Yan. The strength of this one win puts him next in line for a title eliminator fight, but I don't think we need to run this one back, because if Petr Yan wins, then you kill off a contender, and it's not like Yan can get a title fight if he's 1-2 in his last 3. So I think that they should make a very compelling fight in matching him up with Cory Sandhagen. This would allow Sean to have one more camp to sharpen up his grappling defense in case he wins and has to fight a possible still champ Aljamain Sterling. Cory isn't as much of a grappling threat as Aljo, but he's decent enough in the wrestling to where Sean O'Malley would be tested in that aspect of the fight. Plus, he would fight another guy who's very long for that division, and the stylistic differences in the striking are very intriguing. I think that Petr Yan probably shouldn't have to fight an opponent that's either low in the rankings or low in profile, because both of his last 2 losses were razor-thin decisions. But I'm hesitant to match him up with Merab because Merab has no interest in fighting for the title if Aljo is champ. Instead, I'm going to put him in a high-profile fight by matching him up against a returning Henry Cejudo. If Henry wins, he probably gets the title shot next. If Petr Yan wins, then he gets to fight another top 5 fighter or fight the loser of Aljo vs Cheeto for a title eliminator. I would have loved to see him versus TJ, but TJ should retire, and I would love to see him versus Song Yadong, but he is currently ranked very low and coming off a loss. However, Cory Sandhagen lost to Aljamain Sterling and ended up fighting the #1 contender at the time, Marlon Moraes, anyway, so anything can happen at bantamweight. We already went over this. This man should only fight for the title in his next fight, or welcome Max Holloway into the division if he wants to move up to lightweight. Either that, or fight Charles Oliveira, who's looking to get right back in the title picture. Gamrot hung in there with Beneil for about a round and then got shut out for the most part and got his striking exposed as not very creative other than switching stances for no reason and spamming the 1-2. He's had a few sketchy decisions in the UFC that should have gone his way or should have gone against him, so I wouldn't exactly rule out him fighting someone in the low range of rankings or fighting up again regardless of this loss. But I think he should fight the loser of Fiziev versus Gaethje, and I think that will be Justin Gaethje. Manon won a pretty good fight against a pretty solid contender, so I think she's earned herself a title eliminator fight against another fighter who has worked her way up the rankings recently, Alexa Grasso. Grasso's on a 4-fight win streak, recently won in a main event, so she's on the same fight schedule as Manon, and Manon is now on a 10-fight win streak in her career after losing her pro debut. Winner of this fight has earned a title shot against the winner of Santos Shevchenko, which I think will be Valentina. Despite what you may think of UFC women's flyweight fighters not named Valentina Shevchenko, Katlyn Chookagian was a pretty good fighter for the division and prior to this has only lost twice since 2018. Kind of tough to matchmake for her because I think Grasso and Fiorot should fight each other in the title eliminator. She already beat Viviana Araújo, Cynthia Calvillo, Laura Murphy, and Jennifer Maia twice. I think the UFC is trending towards rematching Talia Santos and Valentina Shevchenko, so I think Chookagian should probably fight the loser of that fight. Alright, time for a somewhat controversial take. Belal Muhammad should be next in the line for the title after the Usman Edwards trilogy is settled. If Colby can get a title shot off of the resume he had and get a rematch for beating a washed Woodley, and if beating Nate Diaz got Jorge 2 shots and Leon his, then being on a 9-fight unbeaten streak with wins over, at the time, 2 top 5 and 2 top 10 contenders back to back should earn him his title fight. If Leon wins, he has a no contest storyline, and if you watch the fight, Belal was giving Leon problems in the clinch, which is impressive given that Leon is one of the best clinch strikers in the entire sport. And if Usman wins, Belal has the fact that he was able to eat that head kick from Leon over him, so they can argue over that. Have him weigh in as the replacement for the trilogy, and then have him fight the winner. Sean Brady kinda quit in this fight. Didn't fight back, didn't try to shoot in, barely defended himself, so I think he should fight down in the rankings after failing his elite test so badly. Sean usually fights twice per year, so I think he can take on the winner of Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jeff Neal in the summer of 2023, and ultimately I think he's going to end up facing Shavkat.